All right, guys, I do have a Tuesday morning editorial for you. Before I get to it real quick, I did a video where I put up some clips of Furry Potato, the YouTuber Furry Potato. Put some of the clips of her video. It was like a commercial trailer for Masshole Report. And a couple of people, or a few tater tots, are really upset and saying, you don't like Furry Potato, you're trying to shut her down, and you're against the First Amendment and accountability. No, I have no issues with the YouTuber Furry Potato whatsoever. I just don't agree with her methods on First Amendment audit. I don't agree with them. So I used my First Amendment right to say, I don't agree with that. I think you're wrong. I think you need to change a little bit, her methods up. And that's what the First Amendment is. It's funny that anytime someone expresses their First Amendment, people go, so you're against the First Amendment, huh? You're against free speech. I'm expressing free speech. See, part of free speech, part of the First Amendment is, I disagree with you and I think you're wrong. Well, I disagree with you and I think you're wrong. All right, there you go. We've had a conversation. We've had a debate. We've had a First Amendment exchange. All right, I think you're still wrong. I think you're still wrong. Hey, you have a great day. And we move on. See, but no, that's not what happens. People get all upset and go, what, are you trying to shut me down? You against free speech? No, I'm exercising free speech. So no, I have no problems with Furry. I just don't agree with her First Amendment methods, or First Amendment audit methods. That's fine. We're not always going to agree, but the First Amendment gives us the right to disagree. All right? I never said Furry doesn't have the right to be out there doing that. Furry's wrong. She doesn't have the right to do that shit. I've never said that. I just said I don't agree with the approach and the methods of which she's using. It's all right. Doesn't mean she's not exercising a First Amendment right. It just means I don't agree with the methods. Moving on. We're going to get to this editorial real quick. Now, this is about an allegation that one kid is bullying another, and the father, who happens to be a cop, goes and bullies the kid that's being bullied because it has something to do with his bully son. You ever hear the old adage, like father like son? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. That's this one right here. Thank you to civilbeat.org for this story. A Honolulu police officer is being sued over an incident in which he detained a 15-year-old who was allegedly being bullied by the officer's son at school. The boy and his parents, Jorge and Jennifer Rivera, are suing the city and county of Honolulu, Officer Kirk Umura, and others in federal court with the help of the American Civil Liberties Union of Hawaii and attorneys Eric Seitz and Terry Revere, the parties announced on Monday. The case highlights the fact that the Honolulu Police Department has a no policy prohibiting officers from engaging in cases which they have a conflict of interest. ACLU Executive Director Josh Wish said at a press conference Monday, unfortunately, the circumstances that gave rise to this complaint are not a one-off. They are just the latest example of a pattern in practice by Honolulu Police Department that regularly condones misuse of police powers. The lawsuit alleges that Yumura's son had spread rumors about the plaintiff, identified in the suit as JR, about JR's alleged involvement with his girlfriend. The boys were later allegedly engaged in a physical fight in which Yumura's son was the aggressor and JR was injured, according to the lawsuit. Yumura detained JR the day after the fight, and according to the lawsuit, on November 9, 2018, Yumura was driving his Honolulu Police Department patrol car and followed the school bus carrying JR to Kalahio High School in Kailua. When the bus arrived at school, Umura forcibly seized JR and subjected him to an unlawful search, detention, and harassing interrogation in plain view of surrounding students and staff. The officer said the boy was being arrested because he harassed his son. Umura summoned another Honolulu Police Department officer, Stephen Kaululo, to arrest JR while in transit to the Kailua police station. Kaululo told JR he did not know why the boy had been arrested. At the station, JR was left shackled and handcuffed in a cell. The officers did not notify JR's parents of his arrest until after he was fingerprinted and photographed and his arrest was processed. Honolulu Police Department policy requires the department to contact the parents before a juvenile apprehension on school property. Earlier that morning, Yamura had gone to the Kailua police station while on duty and provided a written statement to another officer alleging that JR had criminally harassed his son. The lawsuit alleges that Yamura knowingly and maliciously provided false information in an official report, which is against department policy. The officer who received the complaint ignored the conflict of interest involved with Yamura filing a report in which his own son was the victim, the lawsuit says. Also named in the case is Sergeant Artie Kendall, who was in charge of the Kailua police station and who the lawsuit accuses of condoning Yamura's conduct. In a statement, Honolulu Police Department spokeswoman Michelle Yu said the officers involved faced consequences, although she didn't specify what they were. An administrative investigation was initiated shortly after the incident occurred, and disciplinary action was taken for both officers earlier this year. Corporal Yamura is assigned to District 4 Patrol, which is Windward Wahoo, and has 21 years of service. Sergeant Artie Kendall retired this summer with 27 years of service. His last assignment was in District 4. Michelle Yu noted that the officers and civilian employees are expected to abide by the department's standards of conduct on and off duty. Now, the ACLU lawsuit argues that Yamura's actions are part of an accepted practice of officers abusing their power, citing retired police chief Louis Kiloha as a prime example. ACLU attorney Wookie Kim said what happened to the Rivera family is exactly what happened to the victims of the Kiloha scandal, the type of abuse of power, of misusing police powers to pursue personal, financial, and other goals. That is what we are challenging, and that is what we are trying to hold the city accountable for. Kialoa and his wife, Catherine Kialoa, a former deputy prosecutor, were convicted last year of a series of federal crimes stemming from allegations they framed a family member for the theft of their mailbox using a secret unit of police officers trained to fight organized crime and terrorism. The Kialoas have also pleaded guilty to other felony charges related to bank fraud and a separate drug case involving Catherine Kialoa's younger brother. And it goes on down. There's quite a bit more on this. Put the link to it in the description box below. As you see, Honolulu Police Department's got some stuff to fix. But the biggest thing I wanted to point out here was that you have this kid who allegedly is bullying another kid, and then what does the bully's father do, who's a cop? He goes out to the school after following the school bus and arrests the kid that's getting bullied, saying, "You're my son, you messed with my son, buddy." Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, does it? Like father, like son, baby. So this cop's a bully too. What do you know? I wanted to point something out. Oh, when the boy was arrested, and he's being taken to jail, that Officer Kaululo says, "I don't know why you're being arrested." What the fuck is he arresting him for? You know, that's what we're talking about, right? When people say there are no good cops, that this Kaululo. He goes out there, and this Yamura goes, "All right, take him to jail. We're going to arrest him." He doesn't even know why. He's like, "Okay, you're going to jail, buddy." What for? Fuck, I don't know. He said to arrest you. What the fuck? I mean, at least he could do is walk over to Yamura and go, "What are we arresting him for? What is he being booked for?" No, he's just like, "I will do it. Yes. Get the papers. We going to der Wiener Schnitzel, and we going to arrest you." I don't know, man. Do they have Nazis in Hawaii? You guys let me know how you feel about this, but, like father, like son in this one. In the description box below is the link to this story. In the comment section below, you can let me know what's going on. Community Leo Watch, watching Leos. That's law enforcement officers to include bully fathers protecting their bully sons from coast to coast, and in Alaska and Hawaii too.